Oh yeah. Okay, first of all, I'd like to extend a thank you to Tiger's Metal Group. I'm going to put their contact information on there for being nice enough to sell me a REM of grade 5, which is this stuff, alloy titanium, 1/32 inch sheet. Sorry about that. And this right here, a piece of this, a small one, is going to become the spaceship Serenity from the TV show Firefly for one of my friends who's graduating college. And my good friend Danielle, who you might remember from the GoPro videos and things like that, she's like, hey, do you want to collab on a project and make a little Firefly spacecraft thing? And then I put like a quote on the back, and I'm like, heck yeah, let's do that. And I thought, hey, that's an even better segue into machining titanium, because sheet is a lot easier to work with than a big old part. And there are some drawbacks, but we'll get into that in a minute. Now, first things first, when you're machining materials like titanium and stainless as well, you want to make sure that you have some kind of coolant setup or very good lubrication setup, because if you don't, you're going to pretty much just burn through tools, and you actually run the risk of setting the chips on fire, and that's not a good thing. You do not want a titanium fire on your hands. It's pretty nasty stuff. So some basic tips for machining this, besides keeping the part cool, is definitely look at your tooling company's feed and speed recommendations and find values that you like. I tend to go mid-range to the low side, but some people like to go on the higher end. It all depends. Because I'm running tiny tooling, I'm not too worried about torque issues, so I can more safely run on the lower side, and then if I need to, I'll bump things up. The big thing as well is make sure that your tool is running at an adequate feed rate, so it's not just sitting there rubbing the material and hardening it. You don't want that happening. Now when it comes to securing this, I'm going to be using an acrylic table and double stick tape, and then to locate the part for both sides of the engraving and machining, I'm going to be drilling some dowel pin holes that are going to hold the part down. And you'll see this in the video. Pretty much the way it's going to work is stick it down, engrave one side, flip it over, engrave the other side, cut the profile, part is done. It's a pretty simple process. It's just making sure that you have it set up properly. That's the important part. Lastly, and most importantly, is don't plunge into titanium with an end mill if you can avoid it. Now, obviously, I understand there is plunge roughing where you're using the edge of the tool. I'm talking the whole tool itself, plunging into the material. Not a good idea. Avoid it at all costs if you can. Use a ramp, use a helix, use a pre-drill. What I'm going to do in my case to make sure to give myself the best bet that the tool is not going to plunge in the material is I've made my lead in and lead out lines very long, which I know is not the most efficient, but I'm only making one of these guys, so I don't need it to be saving 10 seconds apart because I'm making 10,000 of these. It's fine if it adds an extra 30 seconds to the runtime, if it means that I don't blow up an end mill and potentially wreck my piece of titanium in the process. I'm a very happy camper. So enough blah blah aside, let's go cut ourselves some titanium and actually get started on this bad boy, because this thing's going to be pretty sweet.
Always wear safety glasses. Trust me.
have to admit, this thing is pretty awesome. I'm actually debating building a small one for myself out of brass and putting it on my wall or something, but we'll see. Another video for another time if I do that. I need to get some more brass anyways. But the big thing is, it's done. Now, the text on the back, which you may or may not be able to see here, it's kind of hard to photograph. There were 2 or 3 spots that I accidentally missed the letter E on. In short, when I was clicking all the different pockets to machine, I think I clicked the wrong selection, and instead of cutting down, it was cutting at the top of the surface, and that's why it didn't cut anything. So the engraving only went about 1/1000 deep for the text, so that way it would stay legible due to its tiny size. That's a bummer, but I'll try and go back in there and carefully do something to make the text more visible. It happens. Thankfully, it's nothing major like this guy where everything just got totally shifted. What went wrong there is when I drilled the holes in the first operation, I forgot that I had to re-drill them for the second operation. So when I flipped the part, I used the first operation's holes, which skewed the part wrong, and you know, it happens to the best of us. So definitely always make sure you double check your setups before you're doing something, especially when you're doing something new. You don't want embarrassing mistakes like that. So as for this little guy, once I get done dealing with the text boo-boo, I am going to work on deburring it and then getting it ready to give to my friend, which I think she'll really enjoy it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Make It With Calvin about how to machine titanium. If you did, please leave some comments down below. I'm trying to ramp back up into machining videos now that it's the summer and I have more time to work on things. Sorry again if the lighting wasn't the best. I'm also working on getting that better. There's lots of things that are kind of difficult here. I mean, literally the only lighting I have for the CNC machine is that one light right there and the light coming in through the open door right there and the window right there. So lighting in here is horrible for filming, but I'm trying to do the best that I can with what I have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please feel free to also subscribe to the channel. I'm potentially going to be having some machining related giveaways in the future. We'll see about that. And I've also got some more awesome machining projects as well. So I'll see you here next time on Make It With Calvin.